know a lot of people because I've been a lot of
What's going on,
like
world?
Name, but I don't
You're rocking with the young man Nuke, and this is Fresh Radio, where I bring you family, revolution, edutainment, spirituality, a health, and hip-hop all in one show. I am going to do every Thursday a show about health insurance. And I'm going to start next week for sure, taking it down from the basics. Then we're going to get into the more intermediate, and then we're getting to the advanced portions of insurance. Hopefully, by the time we start talking about the intermediate things, I'll have people that give me questions, that have just want to inquire about other things. I want to inquire about their coverage, their personal coverage, that just want to know more, because I've noticed that in my day job, because I won't quit my day job, I won't lie, they got good insurance, but I noticed that there have been people that I've talked to who have no idea what's going on. Like, whoa. So yeah, I want to make sure that I lock in with those people and really and truly just spread as much education as possible. You dig? There are a lot of folks that are around this country that, and I used to be licensed in like 20 something different states, so I've talked to people a little bit of everywhere. But like, there are a lot of people around this country that have no clue how the get down works, and I used to be one of those people. I really did. Like I was, I don't know, like 25 years old, 24 years old when I first got insurance coverage through an employer that I used, and you know, I knew I was paying like $30 for health and vision and dental, and I was able to show my card to the clinics, to the dentist, to the optometrist, and get my services. And typically I didn't pay out of pocket for the most part, but yeah, that was the good times. Had no idea how it worked. I just know that it was there when I needed it. It took me to actually get my insurance license. I got my insurance license. It took me to get my insurance license to figure out how insurance works. So look, I got my insurance license 2019. Yeah, so like 6 years ago. I got my insurance license over 6 years ago at this point. And I was enticed by the money. At the time, I was homeless. Family of 5, I do believe. No, family of 6. And my ex-wife was pregnant with baby boy, Face. And I knew I needed to just change. I needed to do something. I was a truck driver by trade. I had my CDL, but I was in Texas, and my CDL was registered in Pennsylvania, so that was an issue. And I knew that I was accustomed to making like $55,000, $60,000 a year, home every day, and I was putting in long hours though, for sure, working 4 or 5 days a week. And I seen an ad on, I think Craigslist maybe. It said, "Yo, you can make $150,000 your first year selling insurance." And I'm like, yo, this is where it's at. I got to do this, like, for sure. And what ended up happening was I signed up for this company. Well, I went to this company. I'm not going to say their name, but I went to this company, and they told me I had to study for my insurance license. I was like, I got to get another license. I paid like $100, $80 for the study material, and maybe like $100 to actually take the test. I was told if you don't pass the test, you have to pay that money again. So I study. And I learned how to do life insurance and health insurance. Those are two totally different tests. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the direction I was headed. And I passed. I definitely passed. And when I passed, the company I was working for, they was like, awesome. We know that you can do this. They gave me my materials. I'm not going to say too much because I can out the company. And I'm just not trying to give them free publicity or nothing like that. If I'm not working for you, we're not talking about you. So they gave me these materials and they just sent me out the door to go knock on some houses and call some phone numbers. And absurd. Really, really, really absurd. I was cold calling people all day based upon a lie, and I didn't believe in the lie. The lie was basically saying, hey, you got some type of coverage through this means and you are entitled to additional benefits. And while that may have been true that they are entitled to additional benefits, the hook and the catch was the fact that everybody was entitled to those additional benefits. It wasn't just because you had this job, you were entitled to these additional benefits. Either way, I did my door-to-door thing, and I've made a couple different sales. Trust me when I tell you the grind was real, real, real. I didn't even know anything about Texas, so I was taking clients that are way across town. Oh my Lord, hour and a half away from where I live. And I go see them pop up and do my little spiel, and they say, this ain't what I'm taking for, but I appreciate the free shit. And we move forward, and I kept doing that. I was not making any money. I was spending more money than I was making. And once again, I was homeless. So, something happened. My ex-wife got into a car accident, totaled the vehicle. We had 2 vehicles at the time, and totaled the vehicle, and I had to work more locally. I could no longer do the door-to-door insurance. And that's when I was introduced to telesales. And I worked for a guy who's deceased at this point. He started a company, and he had some type of bone marrow cancer or something, and that eventually took over his life after the business folded. We were working in the call center, and he was introducing the new campaign into the call center. I think we were getting paid like $18 an hour or $16 an hour or something like that. We were getting paid substantially, and then on top of bonuses and everything like that. But he had us on a 27-page script going through 2.5 hour long phone calls just so that we can manipulate people into selling or into doing products and final expense plans, final expense. So we're going to go over all these topics and terms at a later date, but I just wanted to give y'all a little background of my experience in the industry and my reasoning for doing what I do. So after a while, he noticed, and we all noticed, and the company noticed that the turnover, or not the turnover, but the turnaround rate, the signing people up rate was just not good because we were going off of spoiled leads, just people who didn't even know anything that they had these things. So we had to convert them. We had to, what do they call, build rapport with them, and then we had to make sure that they had our. Man, we doing a lot of psychology and everything, psychological Jedi mind tricks and everything to get people to turn these sales. And when they did make the sales, sometimes the people would turn around and cancel on us. So because they were manipulated into it. So I didn't like those manipulation tactics or whatever. But at the end of the day, what happened was we were dismissed from that program, and a couple of us stayed with the company, with the call center. And a lot of them just left. I mean, the trickle down effect was real. It was down to like the last 4. Shout out to my man Cadillac. Yo, dog, I appreciate you. Still rock with my man Lack. Either way, from there, I went to selling and servicing. No, I wasn't selling. I was just servicing fiduciaries through Allianz. And I mention them by name only because a lot of people might know them. If you don't know them, look them up. I won't say, ooh, dope company, because I don't know any other companies other than Allianz that service annuities and things of that nature. If you don't know what an annuity is, we'll go over that at a later date too. So, I learned about annuities and what they do and how they pay off and how they work and everything. So that's like another thing that I have under my repertoire. I don't technically sell annuities, but or maybe I do with this new company. I'm not sure. I got to look into that. I just signed up. But we'll talk about that at a later date. But I do know that annuities are something that you should have in your portfolio, if you will. Look into what they are, how they work, and why they're beneficial. There are some individuals out there who are using annuities to the best of their abilities to make sure that they have what is it? The way that they work is basically you invest a certain amount of money, it invests into the stock market, and it grows over the course of a XYZ amount of time. And then after you hit the retirement age, 65, 67, you can begin to take out or annuitize those plans. And they pay you out on a regular basis, whether it be monthly, yearly, biannually, quarterly. You can choose how you want to do it. And some of them pay out for the rest of your life. Some of those you can actually pass on to your children so it can pay out for the rest of their lives. So I mean, it's a real definitely dope situation depending on how you rock it. And I've talked to people who are unfortunately just not informed on how it works, or who ran into unfortunate circumstances and had to use them a different way. But at the end of the day, I definitely think that annuities should be a part of your thing, your portfolio plan. And then from there, I figured out how to do this from home, how to sell insurance from home. And that was the beginning of the end for me as far as going to a building and doing the job. What was it? The necessity for me to be at the house was just there. I had to be at the house because there were things going on in my household that were well beyond my control if I wasn't there. So I had to be there. And I went to the house, started selling the insurance from the house, and then the pandemic hit, 2020. And did I learn insurance in 2018? I don't know. I got to look this up. But either way, I think I learned it in 2018. Either way, I went to start selling insurance from the house. That's when I realized what a chargeback was. I really realized what a chargeback was. I was selling a lot of insurance policies. And if they canceled within the first 3 months, man, I had to pay that money back, dog. That was bad. That was real, real bad. So, yeah, I learned about that the hard way. And I realized that that's not something I want to bank on. I went and I did some other things after a while, but then I came back to insurance and I started doing all those with life insurance. So I started doing health insurance afterwards, and what the health insurance showed me was that portion that I didn't know about how health coverage works. Your deductibles, your co-payments, your co-insurances. How payouts work. What does having a deductible mean over the MOOP, the maximum out of pocket? And yeah, I didn't know anything about any of those terms, and I'm gonna go over those with you one time. Like I told you, we're gonna start small and we're gonna get big. I just want to give you the introduction over what I got through and why I do what I do. And I learned that selling insurance, there are different seasons. You got the hot season, the on season, the open enrollment season, the annual season, and then you got the season where nobody's just doing nothing. You're just actually doing customer service because a lot of people are not looking for coverage. So that was where I was at, and I noticed that if you didn't do your job at a high level of excellence, you didn't keep a job all year. And let's just say from 2021 to 2022, we can even say 2020. I know the pandemic was crazy because I was at the house a lot. So let's just say 2021 to 2022, I had a seasonal job. I kept a seasonal job. I actually worked for the CDC for one good time, showing or helping people get that vaccination. One of those vaccinations, the Moderna, the whatever the other ones, the Johnson and Johnson, and the other one. I didn't help. I just helped them get to locations that were serving that. And truth be told, even though I went through like 2 or 3 weeks of training for that, the program itself was defunct, and we played video games for the most part during work. You dig? And then they canceled that shit out. I got me a PPP loan because I had my own business and still do, but. I was able to get a PPP loan and able to get it paid off. So I'm not no criminal like most of these people. Either way. And then one of the things that happened that took me on the path that I'm on currently is I started selling Medicare. And Medicare allowed me to service people that are 65 and up and the disabled. Medicare is different than Medicaid. Medicaid gives aid to the women and children and those who may need that assistance. And after doing the Medicaid for about a year or so, I realized that I actually like talking to these people. You dig? I like servicing these people. I put myself in the position to be able to help individuals who just couldn't help themselves, and that is honestly, I find joy in selling Medicare products, with Medicare Advantages and Med Subs and prescription drug plans, and just figuring out what works for individuals who are in these situations was dope to me. I ain't gonna hold you. It just was. And I did that for like at least 2 or 3 years. And where we at currently, I tried to do Medicare, tried to work 2 jobs at the same time. One of the jobs found out, they fired me. So I had to move over and I had to sell ACA, Obamacare, and the Affordable Care Act. And I am, I'm good at that too. I've done that before in the past. And it's just a different lifestyle. You're not doing 65 and up. You're doing 64 and under. And yeah, people are all walks of life. People have a lot of different things that are a lot of different reasons why they would need health care or why they would want health care. So, it's a little bit different than Medicare, but in the same breath, it's all the same thing. I'd say all those things to really, really tie this up in the knot right here, or in the funnel, or whatever you want to call it. I really like helping people. I found during this whole insurance thing that helping people is kind of my thing. I like the fact that I'm able to have an effect on a person's life in a positive manner. And it was because I made the right decisions and right choices for that person. I mentioned earlier that I had to do a lot of deception and psychology to convince people or coerce people into signing up for the plans that I had going on. But I really didn't like that portion. I really didn't. And I'm at the point now where I'm just completely honest with my clients, and I give them the up and up on what's really going on as far as what they need, what I have available, what is actually available, and what can be done for them. And with that being said, I tend to find out that all of my clients that I service on a regular basis, they love me. They love what I do. They love the fact that I really take what I do serious. They love the fact that I'm not trying to make money off of them because I know I'm going to make money off of them. Like, I'm not trying to get you into a high dollar plan because it's going to high dollar my pockets. No, I really work with people where they are. If I got to sell you a $0 plan, I will sell you a $0 plan if that's affordable or if that's available to you. If I got to sell you a $30,000 plan, which I have, I'll do that for you. It just all depends on what you need, what you're looking for, and what works best for you. And that's my approach. So like I said, I'm gonna tie this all the way up. I've done this show a little bit longer than I typically do shows, but I know that moving forward, I'm going to get in a little bit further in depth. We're going to do some educations. We're going to do some, maybe I'll do some events. You dig? Like, I know there's people out there all across the country, maybe all across the world. I don't know anything about global insurance, but I know about United States insurance. And as long as you're within these 52 states, 51 states, I don't know how many there is now, but as long as you're in these 50 states, I definitely can work with you. You know, we'll talk, and the laws are pretty similar around throughout the country. You know, there are certain stipulations in states that differ from place to place, but you know, for the most part, everything is still the same. But no, we definitely talk about it. You know, I will break it down one by one, and we'll get into that, like I said, over a later period. But you know, for the most part, man, just holler at me if you got any insurance questions. If you want me to look over some policies for you, if you want to go over some policies, if you want some further additional information about insurance, you know, if you want some personal one-on-one, just let me know. Hit me up, drop a comment, DM, follow me, hit the webpage NUKNOE. You know, I do got a tab about insurance over there, but you know, that's basically just dental. I got to update that part. And then, but I do want you to check out the poetry book, John Poetically. He has some poems up in there. You dig? And the royalty collection guide. Definitely check that out if you're in the music industry. And maybe I'll do a little dental thing. I don't know, a free dental PDF, you know, so that you can get some information about that, or not dental, a few healthcare dental information, so that you can get some correct terms and things like that. And then man, follow me on all the social media links. Like I said, hit me up, DM me, inbox me, whatever you do. Drop a comment, like, share, subscribe, all of that type of things. NUKNOE.LINK, and you know, everything is right down there. I am signing off out of here, man. Y'all be smooth. I am the young man Nuke, and I got you the family revolution, edutainment, spirituality, health, and hip-hop all in one show.
Hey. I know a lot of people cause I've been a lot of places. Might forget a name, but I don't forget faces. My game been tight for a quarter century, cause I still speak to people that I met in elementary. The only